Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Pick Trail Nation Show. I'm CJ Macklin. With me, I have our very own Otis Kirk for our Arkansas football recruiting report. We got a couple topics to get to today. Otis, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, CJ. Appreciate you, man, being on here with me and everything, and working with me here without my Zoom. I'll have Zoom again next week, folks, but it died at the last baseball game, and it's a long story why I don't have it again, but I will.
We'll be fine.
As soon as that laptop gets here today, I will have it again.
We'll get you next week on the video. But first things first, let's get to Jordan Dominic, one of the big recruits that Arkansas had. How important is he to this Arkansas team coming into the next year?
Well, I think he's very important, CJ, simply because right now that's probably the priority in this. They've got 3 scholarships left. I wouldn't be surprised to see them concentrate on maybe, say, a defensive end, which he is, a defensive tackle, nose guard type, kind of like Ridgeway type, and then a linebacker. I mean, I don't know what in a perfect world, I think that's probably what they would do with those 3 scholarships. But let's start with Dominic here because, you know, he went into the portal from Georgia Tech. He's 6'3", 235. He got 20 offers real fast, and Arkansas was the very first one to offer him. He had 38 tackles last year, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. And there's a lot and he recovered a fumble and took it for a touchdown, had enforced 3 fumbles. He and had 4 quarterback hurries. He's a kid that some people think may be the best pass rusher in the portal right now. I mean, he's got Arkansas, Auburn. He's got all kinds of – well, I mean, Nebraska offered him, I think, was like Michigan State. I mean, Penn State. He's got tons of offers. He really would like to play in the SEC in a way because his dad played at Florida, went to a JUCO, and then transferred over to Florida and played there. And so he likes the SEC. I asked him, I said, I know you played on Saturdays. And by the way, I had a big story on him recently on Pig Trail Nation Hogville. People can read that if they're interested. It was about a week ago or so. But I asked him, I said, you know, I know you played with Georgia Tech, so I don't know how much of Arkansas season you saw. He said, well, actually, I watched quite a bit of it because I'm, you know, like I said, my dad played in SEC, and he said it was games where we could watch them. And he said he was very impressed with 9-4 after, you know, they'd been 2-win seasons, 3-win seasons and stuff. And he was very impressed with the fact that they could turn around this fast. He really likes coach, you know, the coaches at Arkansas. You know, and so I think they've got a chance for him. He's going to take an official visit here and check things out. And he hopes to make a decision either this month or at the very latest, 1st of May, because he wants to be set to transfer and get to the new school, work out at the end of May, 1st of June, whenever schools, wherever he goes, whenever they report for the summer, that's where he wants to be. He wants to be ready and be there and be ready to go when that happens. And so expect a decision from him either this month and at the latest May the 1st. He may, if he doesn't find what he wants in March, he may take some official visits into April, but he is planning on making a decision pretty quick. And he's got some good options, but I think Arkansas, Deke Adams, he really likes Deke Adams. They've had a talk a lot. His mother, Deke is from the same place in Mississippi that his mother's from, that Jordan's mother's from, and so he liked that. So I think it looks pretty good for Arkansas. Not a lot by any means, but I think it looks really good for him, and he's going to visit Arkansas, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. It could be a great addition for this team because we just lost a couple of pass rushers, right?
Yeah, it'd be a very good one. That he could fit in there with the guys like Zach Williams, Jashad Stewart, you know, Eric Gregory, and other kids to play those spots and give them some more depth there. And I think that's what they're looking at. You know, I mean, they like what they have, but you're always trying to add maybe another one or two at each position. And they've done pretty well. Maybe the defensive line and is where they come up maybe 1 or 2 short in recruiting in this 2022 class, and that's why they're after Jordan. And I think they'll be after another kid too. Even if they get Jordan, I think they might go. If they get an inside player they like, I think they will go that direction. They're not going to go out here. They're not going to go out here and just take somebody just to be taken. No, CJ. They're going to have to find somebody that they like. You know, that they may not be a Ridgeway as good as Ridgeway was, but they've got to find somebody that can come in and help them. And if they can do that, and then that's what they will do, I think.
Oh, yeah. Adding more depth in the SEC is no negative whatsoever.
It really is, man. That's the key. I mean, everybody pretty much everybody, I think, has some pretty good starters. But the difference in some of these teams is depth. And I think it was last year for Arkansas. I mean, they had those super seniors come back, and they're not going to have that luxury this year. You know, they got 3 or 4, but they're not going to have they'll never have 12 or 13 super seniors yet. So, I mean, that was a luxury they had last year that they'll probably never have again. And so, therefore, I think that's where you've got to keep that. And this portal is allowed teams to do that. You don't have to rebuild anymore. You can reload simply because you don't have to go reach for a junior college kid. You lose your receiver, Traylon Burks, you can go to OU and get their receiver that led the team in catches. That's how you reload. You don't have to rebuild now so much anyway. And then I think that's, you know, you lose 2 defensive backs to LSU, you go get one of their best ones, and you go get one of Georgia's kids that started 13 games down there. That's how you rebuild. I mean, reload instead of rebuilding.
Oh, yeah. Reload. And March 5th and March 12th, big prospect states. Speaking of reloading, they could be reloading these prospect days, Otis.
That's how you reload in the future. Yeah, you get those kids on campus and let them see what you've got. You meet the coaches with their personalities and stuff, and that's exactly what it's all about. It's get the kids on campus, let them see the facilities, let them meet the coaches. You let them see it. I know they've seen it on the internet, but I've talked to a million kids, and they tell me that no matter how much they saw on the internet, and they were impressed, but it looks so much better. And plus, you get that feel of meeting Sam Pittman. You get to meet Barry Odom. You get to meet Dow Loggins, you know, and Jimmy Smith. And so, I mean, Mike Sear, all of them. You get to meet those guys. And that's impressive, those kids. And, you know, when you go out here and you meet these coaches and you get to deal with them, you're not I won't say it's. I'm not going to say it's not in a recruiting setting because obviously that's what junior prospect days are. Right. But it is a little bit different when you're in the room. You're talking to Sam Pittman, and he's talking to you. I have these kids tell me, you know, he talks to you. It's not always. It's just not football. It's how's your family? You know, your academics. How's your social life? You know, it's other things besides just football, and that's why I say. And I know that is recruiting, but I'm just saying. It is a little bit different setting. It's just they're even on the phone. When you talk to prospects on the phone, I know I talk to recruits on the phone, and when I go out into the home or schools or homes or ball games and talk to them, it's different. It's just different to see somebody in person, and that's what I think these prospect days where they really prosper, CJ, is having face-to-face contact, and that's one thing that they didn't have during COVID, and I think that they really did well. We've talked about that a million times. I won't go into it again on the show about how well they recovered, not being able to bring kids on campus, but getting them on campus is key, and that's what they're going to do on March 5th and March 12th. They've had 3 prospect days in January. I believe it was the last 3 Saturdays in January. I want to say the 15th, 22nd, 29th, but my days are off. But it was the last 3 Saturdays in January. Then you had the month-long dead period, and now you're getting back March 5th or March 12th. There will be more prospect days. And then, of course, on Sunday, March 13th, they start spring football practice.
Everybody's getting back to the swing of things now that the COVID is over. And it feels good.
Yeah, it does. And it helps. I mean, it really helps a coach like Sam Pittman, who is very good one-on-one. I mean, he's got a whole staff that's that way too. But Sam is as good as it gets one-on-one. I mean, he got that country sound, and he's just a good old boy. I mean, he comes across that way, and that's what he really is. The biggest thing with Sam is he comes across as he's sincere. And by all accounts, I mean, that's every time I've ever dealt with a guy, that's what he's been, sincere. And so I think that's where Sam can really, I think it's where Arkansas benefits is getting those kids on campus and not just seeing everything, but meeting these guys and just seeing the feel here, because not all coaches are like Sam Pittman. They're really not. I mean, a lot of them have their own way of doing things, but Sam is really good one-on-one, and you can't do one-on-one if you can't get in the homes or can't get them on campus and see. And that's where this really benefits the Hogs, I think.
Sam is definitely good, and respect and family is at the top of his list. When you always talk to him, ask, how you doing? How's the family? This, that,
exactly.
Coach Sam Pittman is one of the best coaches in the country, no doubt.
Yeah, it's not just all football. It's a lot of life stuff, and that's important to a lot. Well, I think that's important to everybody, not just a lot of kids, but I think that's important to everybody. You feel like he's getting to know you as a person, you're not just a number. You're not number 88. Go out play wide receiver. Right. You're number 42. Go play live. I mean, he's getting to know him as a person. And I think that's big. I think that's huge, man. It's huge in any business.
Definitely huge. And speaking of the the future. Let's talk about the near future a little bit, Otis. Vinny Winters, the 6'4" offensive tackle from Auburn, Arkansas. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
He got a couple offers I see over here with Arkansas State, Memphis, Alabama, and Clemson.
Yeah, he's got some good. He's got some good schools after him, and I'm telling you about Vinny. I love that kid. I watched him start as a freshman at left tackle against Shiloh up here at Springdale, and he held his own that day. And I'm telling you, I mean, this is a kid that played last year as sophomore. They lost their quarterback early in the season last year, so Malvern probably wasn't as good as they weren't as good as they would have been if they hadn't lost their quarterback. But he's back this year. He actually came to a junior day with Vinny up here, and so did the running back who will be back. And so they've got some talent on that team. If they can stay healthy, they can make it over. But Vinny Winters is a left tackle that can protect the quarterback. He can play at any system, and that was a great offer by Arkansas. Memphis offered him first, and shortly after that, the Hogs came in. The Hogs went in. Well, I think Arkansas offered him, if I'm not mistaken. He played against Shiloh on Friday night up here, and I think that Monday Arkansas offered him. The Monday after he played against Shiloh on Friday, they got beat by Shiloh in the playoffs. But, I mean, he had a good game. He's just a good ball player. I mean, he can play for anybody in any system, and left tackles are always something. You know, you left tackles, cornerbacks who can run with the receivers, got the height and stuff. Those are what everybody looks for, and even the pros are always looking for left tackles. And that's where Benny comes in. He came to camp here last summer, CJ. He will be back this summer as well. And there again, there's just like Jordan. I had a story on him recently on Hogville and Pig Trail Nation if people want to read about Benny. And I've had previous stories about him as well. So, you know, Benny's a kid that he was here. I want to say, I think it might have been the 15th, or maybe it was, I'm sorry, the 22nd, I think is when he came junior here. He was at one of them, but anyway, but he was up here and enjoyed it, and he will be back at camp this summer.
That'll be huge for Arkansas. And also, last but certainly not least, Mr. Quincy Rhodes Jr. He has a lot of schools on his list as well. The edge pass rusher. How big is he for this Arkansas squad?
Yeah, that was huge to get him committed. He's 6'6", 253 pounds. A lot of people don't know about him because he played at Jacksonville last year. He's going to be at North Little Rock this season. And I'm telling you, I mean, this is a kid, his best – he committed to Arkansas, by the way. Nick and I talked about him 2 weeks ago on this show, and then I was ill last week and didn't do the show. So, but he committed shortly, or the next day, a couple of days after we did that show. Mm-hmm. But he's 6'6", 253. But here's what you're getting with him. He's a 4-star, but you're getting a kid that he's just tapped into he's just barely tapped into his potential. His best football is going to be ahead of him. He's going to get some good coaching there on the defensive line at North Little Rock this year. Of course, Nellums is one of the best in the business. Not saying anything bad about Jacksonville, Coach. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know Coach Nellums. He's one of the best in the business. And this kid's going to get coached. But regardless of who coaches him or whatever, his best football is way ahead of him. And he's only going to get bigger. He's fast. And he came to a prospect day up here. They offered him. And, I think he was at the 15th. I think he got offered at the very first one they had. And I imagine Arkansas just wanted to see him and check him out on his size and stuff. But he's a big kid. He's fast, smart. And like I said, the future is bright for this kid. If he can avoid major injuries, which can take down anybody, but if he can avoid major injuries, then the future is very bright for this kid. And Arkansas got a steal there. I mean, I know Memphis, Jackson State, Arkansas State were his other offers, but he would have gotten a lot more offers had he kept his recruiting open. And it's not about that. It's about can you play, and that's what he can do. And scouts that rate these kids saw it in him. I don't always agree with their rankings, but they saw it in Quincy and gave him 4 stars. And he's a kid that's, and like I said, he may be a 4-star now regardless, but his best football's ahead of him. And that's where he's going to really try. He can play beyond Arkansas if he's as good as I think he is and gets as good as I think he's going to. He's got to work hard to do that, and I think he will, but he's got to do it. And that's the key is, will he do what it requires? If he does, the future is bright for him. It's unlimited, really. The sky's the limit for him because he can do it. His size and speed and intelligence stuff, he can do what he wants to do. Arkansas got a good one.
Well, I'm looking forward to see him play along with Mr. Vinny Winters. Both of those guys from Arkansas, to be exact. And it's good to see everybody staying home in Arkansas now with Coach Sam Pittman at the head.
Yeah, he's done a good job in that regard. I tell you what, he's made it a priority to get the in-state kids. You've got to do that. You start losing your in-state kids,
it's a must.
Then you've got to go out and get kids from us. And it's not like Arkansas. It's like Texas. People say, well, Texas, kids will leave Texas. Yep, there's 250 Division I prospects in Texas. They don't have 250 up in Arkansas. That's why when you do have a kid like a Vinny Winters, Quincy Rhodes, those type of kids, you've got to get them. And then that's what Sam has done a great job of. The Isaiah Sectegnas and all the kids, Caden Henleys and, JJ's, Hollingsworth, all of them. He kept those kids at home, and that's been the key. And they've got to keep, the Quincy McAdoo. I mean, all these kids are going to be over here, and we'll see a lot of these kids in spring. There's only about 4 kids that won't be in Sectegna's one of them, but most of those kids in that class will be at spring practice this year. And they got a huge freshman class coming in at midterm, so it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure the Arkansas fans are also looking forward to it. I appreciate you stopping by, Mr. Otis.
Thank you, CJ. You do a great job, man. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
No problem. We'll have more Pig Trail after the break.